Who doesn't love Space Marines? Even if you don't love them, you do. And that's just a fact. Theoretically, there's roughly 1 million Space Marine chapters out there, and each of them have their own little flavor and flair. More than likely, there's at least one that's your cup of tea. And for me, that's a lot of them. But when there's a lot of chapters, there's only so many color schemes that they can apply to their armor. Some of them catch our eye by being deliciously simple, while others stand out by being bombastic and utterly unforgettable in their design. But today I want to talk about the silliest designs in all of 40k. And no, none of these are homebrew, I'm only going off of canonical lore. But before we get to that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, share with a friend, and if you really like what you see, consider becoming a channel member. Get extra perks, goodies, and you get to see my videos early. Huge thank you to my channel members. You guys mean the world to me. So I want to get you a little immersed. Imagine this. Your home planet is under attack by greenskins, and you've probably witnessed more than a few of your friends and or family being slaughtered. Realistically, there's nothing you can do, so you hide underground. The utter symphony of screaming, bullet casings hitting the floor, and explosions popping off above your head are all you can think about. Until you hear the orc shriek, "Space Marines!" Yeah, that's right, you heard him. Space Marines. You know, the whole Angels of Death, the guys that you never get to see but you hear stories about ever since your childhood, right? So you hear a few seconds of shredding bolt gunfire, a little bit of silence in between, and you peek out to see the aftermath. All the orcs are dead, and all you can see is the silhouette of the mighty Astartes. Everything but their piercing, glowing eyes are obscured by the dust. You can't help but fall to your knees and praise the Emperor's sons. Very few can claim they've been in the presence of an Astartes, let alone liberated by one. This is the greatest honor you've ever had in your entire life, up until they walk through the dust and this is what you're greeted with. Right, number 1, Emperor's Shields. The Emperor's Shields have very little information on them. We know that they're a Codex-compliant chapter, and that's about it. Only other information we have on these guys is that they have different colored helmets to signify their companies. This is the 3rd company. They have red helmets, and for some reason the first 2 have white, yellow, and the 4th is green. Why they decided to pick the same helmets as the entirety of their armor is beyond me. This is very silly. Now, yes, they are Space Marines, they don't exactly give a shit about color theory, I'm sure. But am I really supposed to believe that they're content with looking like a giant Mike and Ike's box? I mean, yeah, probably. But moving on, our next chapter is the Stormlords. Ah, the Stormlords. Kind of a classic in my opinion. These guys have kind of been a meme within the Warhammer community well before I was even in the hobby. Mostly because they're one of the most difficult chapters to paint. They're a White Scar successor, and what I truly love is that these guys are a second founding chapter. They've been around the block for a while, but the biggest thing about this is that there was only 9 Loyalist legions within the Imperium. They had infinite options for color schemes, and this is what they went with. But not only this, the only other 3 White Scar successors in the second founding are bright yellow, bright red, and black. So they just decided, fuck it, let's just take all 4 previous chapters and just smash it in! And now we have the Stormlords. Also, I love that their helmets designate their company, meaning the newer ones that we have in the newest codex just have red helmets. Somehow this looks worse than the yellow. But for how goofy they look, these guys have pretty cool lore in my opinion. Plus, I find the love and dedication to the fans of this chapter very charming. Next up, we got the Blood Swords.
Could you use some more red?
These guys are successors of the Blood Angels. Maybe. Yeah, this is yet another chapter with a really goofy-ass color scheme, but very interesting lore. But it's not just interesting from a lore perspective, it's the fact that it's a little conflicting. In one of the original books, Red Fury, they are identified as a successor of the Blood Angels, but in the 5th Ed Codex for Blood Angels, the Blood Swords are all like, no. Which to me just, I don't know. Why are they even in the Codex if they're not part of the Blood Angels? They didn't think about that, did they? Not the writers, the Blood Swords. Bunch of goobers. Next up is Angels of Retribution. As far as we know, these guys are all dead. I don't... Good. These guys got me excited because I thought these colors looked really cool up until I saw that they just have a Blood Angel right in the middle. In fact, I'm just going to talk about a handful of Marines that have really cool color schemes up until one point and they don't really have any lore. Here we have the Angels of Repentance, and these guys look really cool, but why the green? Like seriously, I think this is a really unique and cool looking scheme, but why does he basically have a giant green alien head? Like, it's actually kind of frustrating because I really like how this scheme looks. The blue and the white and the black look so good. But that green head... Honestly, I'm almost tempted to paint these guys with my own little twist on it. I don't know what I would do differently for the head, but not green. There doesn't seem to be any other information beyond the fact that this is just what the 4th company has for their helmets. I guess this is just a case of a company having the worst luck of the draw when it comes to their iconography. It sucks because it seems like with some chapters, mainly the Ultramarines, whenever they have different trim for their companies, it's not super noticeable. Maybe I'm not the biggest fan of the green trim, but when it comes to the helmets, it sticks out like a sore thumb. Next up, we have the Iron Lords, and these guys are actually kind of significant. They're Iron Hand successors, and they're mainly known for fighting off the Barghesi, which are a Xeno race that we know very little about. Basically, these guys are just really, really good at killing aliens. Multiple run-ins of Tau, Tyranids, and the aforementioned Barghesi. Now, the elephant in the room, we're talking about the Silliest Space Marine designs. These guys have red pants. They just have red pants and knee pads. Kinda reminds me of when you favored a me. Obviously, this is a very bizarre design choice, because I feel like these guys would actually look really cool if they had, like, matching arms to the legs. It just feels weird. Like, it's kind of a generic color scheme without the red, but it's not bad. I'm also kind of a sucker for the Imperial Fist-esque chapter badge. But yeah, yet again, kind of a cool chapter. Now, this next chapter I was a little hesitant to add, as I really, really like this scheme. But, you know, doesn't make it any less goofy. Just because Lamentors are my favorite chapter scheme doesn't mean that they're not goofy looking. The Solar Hawks are another White Scar successor, and they basically... Why are all White Scar successors red, yellow, white, and black? Oh, yeah, forgot about you. I love you. But overall, I really do like this scheme. There's something about it that really tickles my brain, and I really do love the colors. I think the placement is really interesting, and I love the blue eyes. It's just the chapter badge. And I think it's because most of the art depicting these guys, the symbol looks really out of place and almost, like, badly photoshopped. And something about the symbol itself is really goofy. I don't know. But at the same time, I also think it's really badass, the idea of it and the concept of it. It's really clever. I don't know. I really just kind of wanted to talk about these guys. They're one of the few chapters, now that I think of it, the only chapter I can think off the top of my head that really utilizes Storm Talons and Storm Ravens. They're basically an entire chapter of airborne attacks. Kinda cool. But moving on. This next chapter, I wasn't exactly sure whether or not I should put them on this list, as I feel most quad-color Space Marines actually look pretty cool. I understand why some people think they're goofy, but this one is a little different to me. And for one reason only. Well, not necessarily one reason. I do think bright, cool white mixed with a forest green is kind of a strange choice. But upon deeper observation, why is his knee Frieza? Also Dark Suns. I feel like there's like 30 chapters with that name. But the final chapter I want to discuss is actually kind of the opposite. These are the Marines Exemplar. These guys are one of the original 20 chapters that are a part of the Astartes Preces. These chapters are responsible for guarding the Eye of Terror. And there's a lot of really cool chapters that are a part of this group as well. But yeah, I think this is a really, really weird scheme. Mostly because they're just the opposite of the Iron Lords. And yeah, they're not nearly as goofy as some of the others we've talked about thus far. But again, just bright red arms. I have no idea what this symbolizes. Maybe the chapter master got degloved or something. Oh wait, he's currently missing. But there's something about it that's just so off balance to me. It does kind of help that they're not very loud in terms of design beyond this point. Based on their name and their design, they just feel like really basic tactical Marines, and their iconography kind of shows it too. Oddly enough, the only thing that really stands out for these guys is their arms. But nonetheless, I like these guys. And their chapter name is really cool to me. I don't know why, but it is. Definitely a more tame scheme as compared to the other ones in the list. But overall, like these guys, I kind of like all these chapters for one reason or another. Good writing, questionable schemes, but at the end of the day, very interesting. And hey, maybe I'll do a painting tutorial on these guys for a larf. But I've definitely flapped my beak enough for one video. I won't do this super often, but I get the feeling you guys like the chatty videos, so we'll do it once in a while. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, share it with a friend, and remember to mishmash, kit bash, and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna. I promise. See ya. Bargus. Oh no.